Recently, Russia suffered a terrorist attack that shocked the world. The heinous acts of the terrorists provoked anger in everyone. Following the incident, many Russian citizens expressed their desire for terrorists to be swiftly sentenced to death. However, in response to these demands, Andrei Klishas, the chairman of the Federation Council Committee on Constitutional Law, stated that unless the constitution is amended, it would be difficult to impose the death penalty on these terrorists. Indeed, according to the Russian constitution, there is currently no provision for the death penalty. So, does this mean that terrorists can escape punishment? In fact, understanding Russia's methods of punishing criminals reveals that the death penalty is the true solution. In May 1996, Russian President Yeltsin issued a decree announcing the suspension of capital punishment in Russia. On February 2, 1999, the Constitutional Court of the Russian Federation officially passed a resolution to suspend the imposition of the death penalty from a legal perspective. Originally, according to the decision at that time, this provision should have expired in 2011. However, on January 19, 2009, the Constitutional Court of the Russian Federation further ruled to indefinitely extend the order suspending the death penalty. Why did Russia choose to stop executing the death penalty? There are historical and practical reasons for this. Firstly, historically, Russia has always been a country conflicted about the death penalty. For example, Catherine II, known to many as Catherine the Great, was opposed to the use of the death penalty. In her view, capital punishment was a sign of a sick society, a manifestation of disorder replacing the rule of law. Therefore, besides political and state crimes, she tended to support imprisoning criminals to allow them to compensate society through labor. Catherine's thoughts have influenced successive monarchs in Russia. Although Russia did not abuse the death penalty under Catherine's advocacy, corresponding corporal punishment was not abolished. This led to the widespread use of punishments similar to the death penalty. Records show that in Russian history, individuals were sentenced to being beaten by thousands of people forming a stick formation. Legally, this was not considered a death penalty, but obviously, no one could survive being beaten 12,000 times. So, based on these examples, it is not difficult to see that in Russian history, decisions to abolish the death penalty were more about demonstrating false compassion than respecting life. When confronted with dissent or threats to their rule, death was still the best method of punishment. The reduction of the death penalty in Russian history was to demonstrate compassion. However, why is it so in reality? We need to find the answer from Russia's political environment in recent years. On December 25, 1991, with Gorbachev's televised speech, the Soviet Union was dissolved, and Russia and 14 other member states moved towards independence. After bidding farewell to the Soviet era, Russia had to follow Western advice to integrate into the Western world, especially to join the European Commission and become a member of the European space. It had to follow Western suggestions to establish the so-called democratic and legal systems. One representative action was the suspension of the death penalty. In fact, not only Russia but many Western countries have abolished or suspended the death penalty. Some scholars believe this may be related to Christian teachings because, in the eyes of believers, everyone's life is given by God and is supreme. No earthly person or institution should have the right to deprive others of their lives, even if the person is a poor, hungry criminal. On the surface, this is a noble idea, but is it true? The answer is obviously negative. For example, consider Israel, which also does not have the death penalty. Today, their actions in Gaza are well known worldwide. It can be said to be genocide. Is this kind of behavior respectful of life? From this, it can be seen that these so-called moral principles are nothing but a hypocritical appearance. To maintain this hypocrisy, bigger risks must be buried. Just as in present-day Russia, before this terrorist attack, there was a dispute over whether to reinstate the death penalty. According to a survey by the All-Russian Public Opinion Research Center in 2011, 72% of respondents supported the restoration of the death penalty. After the shocking 9/11 incident in 2004, 84% of Russians supported the death penalty for terrorists, a figure that even rose to 96% in 2005. The voices in Russia supporting the restoration of the death penalty are not only limited to the public. A poll released by Moscow State University in 2011 showed that 89% of interviewed judges supported the death penalty. After this terrorist attack, Medvedev, chairman of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, publicly supported the restoration of the death penalty. He said that terrorists must be responded to with terror and that all criminals must be found and eliminated. So, undoubtedly, from the attitude of people from all walks of life in Russia, the death penalty is still the best way to deter crime. However, changing the law, especially the constitution, is very difficult. According to Russian law, if the constitution is to be amended, it must obtain the support of more than 3/5 of the Federation Council and the State Duma. The drafted document must then be approved by more than 2/3 of the Constituent Assembly or a national referendum. Moreover, even if the law is changed due to this terrorist attack, there are still many areas of contention regarding sentencing terrorists to death. After all, it may be unreasonable to apply the new law to crimes committed before the law was enacted.